Hello gamers, this is Sai, and welcome back to Which Way Games. What could be deadlier than a Ninja Turtle?
And with that being said, let's get on with the video.
Multiplayer gaming has come in a variety of different styles over the decades of video games. From humble beginnings with games such as Pong, going all the way up to Battle Royale gaming with Fortnite for example. Over this time, gamers have played them all, and there are some that have stood the test of time. With a list as long as my arm for great multiplayer games, there is one game widely known that a lot of gamers claim to be one of the greats. A game where gamers will go up against each other in a battle of wits, using methods that might make your gran blush, and having fun while playing.
This would be... Wait a minute.
Bloody game. Now where is it? Ah, there it is. The hell's that noise? Dab, 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 dab.
Oi, nutter!
Whoa, wrong way. Incoming. Incoming? Whoa! Yeah, but the game in the woods, safe it'll be.
This would be Worms, which was lent to me by my subscriber Adam. So cheers Adam, this was great fun to play again.
Worms originally started life as an entry for a Blitz programming competition run by Amiga Format magazine. Going under the name of Total Wormage, it sadly didn't win the competition, but that didn't stop creator Andy Davidson sending the game to other developers and publishers. It wouldn't be until after suggestion from Mark Foreman of GM Distribution that Andy Davidson spoke to games developer Team 17. After witnessing the game, Team 17 immediately made an on-the-spot offer to develop Total Wormage and have games publisher Ocean publish the game. It did have a successful run on the Amiga and the MS-DOS operating systems with games such as Alien Breed and Project X. However, with Total Wormage, which would later be renamed Worms, there was a lot of hype surrounding the game. And it wouldn't be until 1995 that Worms was released. And like always, let's go back to the past to see how Worms was advertised.
Now that I've got your attention, stop sniggering! I could stay here all night until I find out which one of you once did it!
Worms, the computer game.
Now, Worms doesn't actually have a story, but if it did, I think it might go something a little bit like this.
Under the oak tree in one of the gardens of Acacia Avenue lived the Worms, who are quite happy leading their lives, exploring the wonders of the back garden, coming up with new ways to keep the birds at bay, and guarding the garden fence from intruders. 4 worms in particular have this important job, and they're led by the worm known as Sarge. His team consists of Buzz, who apparently has a ladybird girlfriend, although no one's actually seen her, Doyle, who has a strange fascination for spoons, and the not so right in the head, Fluffy. Daily they guard the fence, hoping for some excitement in their lives, but little did they know what the future has in store for them. On one stormy April night, high winds and rain caused part of the fence to fall down and expose the garden to the neighbouring gardens and the worms that dwell within them. Seeing this as an opportunity to expand their empire, the neighbouring worms begin to invade the garden of Sarge and his men. This turns out to be an act of war, and the troublesome foursome find themselves in the front line, ready to take on the opposing force by any means necessary. Gameplay for Worms sees gamers taking it in turns to battle against one another, but each turn is time limited, so gamers will have to think fast. With over 50 weapons and tools available, gamers are sport for choice on how to cause the biggest amount of damage to the opposing team. Following a control scheme similar to other turn-based artillery games, Worms changed it up a bit with the inclusion of a wind system. If the wind was against the gamer, then a rocket could end up exploding in their face. But if the wind was in the other direction, then the rocket would fly past the target and end up somewhere else entirely. Throughout gameplay, crates are airdropped in and may contain additional weapons. With levels following a basic formula of having water surrounding the base as always, gamers can use one of the most powerful weapons in the game when certain events cause a worm to be standing on the edge of the level.
In fact, the most powerful weapon in the whole of the game, which I'm sure Bella will agree with me, is this.
Now, there is one worm that I would always have on my team when playing Worms. That would be Fluffy. He wouldn't use any other weapons throughout gameplay, but he would slowly stalk the other worms, slowly moving, getting that little bit closer until it got to that crucial point. And then probably the best worm ever. When released, Worms was classed as a commercial success, selling 250,000 copies by March of 1996. Now, some critics didn't take well to Worms, while most of them praised the game for the exciting and fun gameplay, as well as the endless possibilities that multiplayer could bring. Worms was even commented as being like Lemmings, but with guns and none of the puzzles. Reminds me of another game starring a worm with a super suit and an obsession with guns. Worms has a simple but effective format and certainly has replayability value, especially with infectiously addictive gameplay and humour that was increased as each new version of Worms was released. In fact, gamers today still regard Worms as a go-to game. With each new release there are different challenges and different modes. Now, Worms Reinforcements United gave gamers the choice of using regional accents for the Worms. Spanning over 20 years, the Worms series has over 20 games available to play on pretty much all platforms. It's also one of those gaming series that appears on gaming nights alongside GoldenEye and Mario Kart 64. However, to make it more fun, some gamers create their own competitions to find out which team of Worms is truly the deadliest. It'll be really interesting to see if Worms makes a jump to virtual gaming. It'd be great to see an airstrike or even the holy hand grenade do its business. The Worms series did make the leap into 3D gaming, but has reverted back to the 2D style of old, which in my opinion is probably for the best. If gamers haven't had the chance to play Worms or any of the other games in the series, then you can't go wrong with the original. It's an absolute classic of a game, and with each playthrough bringing a different experience each time, it's easy to see why Worms was, and still is, one of those games that stood the test of time.
Anyway, come back next time where a young lion will learn what it means to become king and how important the circle of life actually is. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next game.